I'm Andrew. I'm one of the sales and development managers at iHus. Firstly, just thank you all for joining us this afternoon and giving me your precious time to speak to myself. I've got two people joining me today. The whole point of today is to cover an annex that we built back in 2023. Bit of a case study for a lovely lady called Smadar Cohen. She's joining us on the webinar today, and also joining me, I've got the MD of NAPC, who are our planning consultants for any planning questions or any details that you'd want us to cover at the end of the presentation. So if everyone's happy to move forward. We'll cover the intros, which I've done, and then we're going to cover some of these points here. So we've got why an annex. So why do we build annex? Why are you looking for an annex? What are the key reasons behind that process? We're then going to look at specifically Smadar's project and cover some of the initial conversations that we had, talking about the drawings, the information that I gained in producing the annex specifically for their needs, the external and internal building itself, and then we'll start to cover some of the more general subjects like the open HUS, which is your opportunity to visit an annex around the UK, such as the one that you can see on the screen, which is Smadar's. We'll cover the build process, and then finally, for the last 5 or 10 minutes, we'll have a 10 minutes just to have on any questions that you may have on points that we've covered. So if everybody's happy, we will progress. So as you can see, we've got myself and Olga there up on the screen, and Smadar, who is the owner of the annex that we built for Smadar's mum in her rear garden. So we have the first point, which is why an annex. So from Smadar's perspective, in 2023, the Cohens got the keys to their beautiful bespoke annex that they designed and built by iHus for a mum to move into. And we're basically here to obviously unpack all of that, the journey that they went through and how we made it happen as a company. So I'll hand you over to Smadar just for a quick intro from Smadar's perspective. Just give an overview of the initial part of that journey, the research that she went into, the due diligence process, and how she came to obviously speaking to us at iHus.
Hi. I guess, yeah. So those are just all pictures of me, but we in 2021 my father passed away, and my mum lives abroad, and we kind of wanted her to be able to visit here much longer. At the time we had a 4-year-old, so he used to wake her up super early, and it was just a bit crowded. So we were thinking about different solutions. It's really expensive to actually buy property in this area. I think all over the place, but it's very expensive, and so that wasn't really an option. And so I took my son to a birthday party at a friend's house, and her mother had just moved in, and I said, well, how did you manage that? And she said, oh, we built an annex. She said, come and see. So she brought me in, and I saw this lovely annex, and she said, look up iHus, and that's how I came to contact iHus. And the idea was to kind of have a space for my mum to be able to come for prolonged periods of time, and then in the future, if she ever needs to live with us full time, it would be just ready for her. And so that was kind of the thought process. Andy, shall I continue, or do you have more?
Yeah. So
Sorry. Yeah, so we contacted I looked at different I did do a bit of due diligence, but obviously seeing the annex um Emma's mum told me, and I changed this and I changed this. So, talk to them about what you can change and what you can add and what you can do. And so I contacted iHus, and they were lovely. They sent Andrew, and who came down and kind of spent the whole day with us, um, which was lovely. And we talked through what my mum wanted, and why we needed it. And so the idea was, have it in the garden, not right up in our business, and not down the bottom of the garden, but quite close, and and something that would feel in line with what the house looks like, and then something that she could use now when she's pretty fit. She's okay, but
yeah,
also keeping in mind that in 20 years she might have additional needs. And so we kind of we created that whole thing with Andy. And you just stop me when you want to continue with the presentation.
yeah. So
I
well, everything that you've said is, like I said, is current. So one of the first parts of what we do as a company is when Smadar gets in touch with us, she gave us an initial brief about the annex, and we went through an initial design design time where we talked about layouts, we talked about room sizes. I obviously then assessed the garden. So with NAPC's help, we're able to do basically a bit of a feasibility study. What's feasible? What can we actually build in Smadar's garden, which potentially, as a company, we think, yes, this will get a good success rate. Yeah. We have, as you can appreciate, in the 7.5 years I've been with iHus, we have a lot of customers that primarily want the biggest annex they can get in the garden. And that's not always feasible with the LPA, the local planning authority. So I've got to govern people's expectations. I've got to govern people's thoughts and processes and work around the person's needs, and obviously, come up with solutions for them. But the whole point of the annex, we did in this case meet the brief, I'd like to think, from Mum's perspective.
Yes. So
One,
the only so she we chose one out, but she said, oh, I don't know, I think I wanted it a little bit bigger. And then so Andy said, oh well, we can make it bigger this way. And then after we decided where we would stick the annex, she said, well, but that's a little bit wonky because the window is the wrong way, so it's looking out onto the end of the garden. There's nothing there. And so we basically we added a window because she likes lots of light. She likes lots and lots of light. And so we added a window, and we moved the window from the kitchen to the side so that it's facing kind of a bit more of the green and stuff. So we played around with that. And then you had said that if we want to have the continuity of the path, right? So that
yeah,
if
yes,
she ever has a wheelchair, that it would be seamless. So we kind of positioned it so that it just continues off of the path, that she wouldn't have to go up any steps or anything.
yeah.
So yeah, so we kind of played around with those ideas based on your first assessment. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, please don't. As Smaddar's outlined, two of the key considerations from my perspective are, yes, the client. We need to understand what the client's needs are, but accessibility. We need to understand that the person can get in and out of the annex, and that it ties in with the primary build, and the access points. Officially, from a planning perspective, access has got to be via the existing access through to the garden. So through the main house and into the garden, or down a side access path, etc. So it can't have its own access. It can't be separated from the main dwelling. So all of these points I will look at and consider during that initial due diligence meeting, and then we come up with the solution. And what I say to everybody is that if anybody's had a chance to have a look at the website or the brochure, all of the models within the brochure are bespokeable. Okay, so not every garden is the same, as we're all aware. In Smadar's case, we needed to increase the size of the annex to accommodate her mum's needs. Whether it's the living area, whether it's bedrooms, whatever, we're able to do so, and move any of the window and door positions in line with being able to either gain more light from, say, a southern facing or a western facing elevation, or whether it's a privacy issue, whether we're facing onto a boundary or whatever, but we can manipulate the whole model in line with the garden and the customer's requirements. So
yeah, and then Andy, do you remember that she decided that her life dream was to have a walk-in closet?
correct.
My mum is very quirky. But yeah, so you there was like a storage area. You made that, you changed it so that it would be a walk-in closet.
Yeah.
You got her walk-in closet, and that was really nice. I'm quite jealous.
Oliver, could you just go through to the drawings page on the presentation, and I'll come back to the. So, just for everybody's perspective, when we're going through that initial phone call and Zoom consultation, this is basically the result of that. So we'll provide you with all of the elevation drawings that you can see clearly on the screen, front, back, sides, with the window positions, etc. We've obviously got options to go with either a flat or a pitched roof, depending on what your preferences are, and also the site itself. And I'll try and give you guidance on that. That's part of that due diligence, that process that we go through. And then the next page, you've got the floor plan. So from my perspective, this is the key one. So on that floor plan, we give you an outline of what's feasible. Yeah, bathroom, the bedroom space, the living room space. And all the models are different, as you can appreciate. This is a one-bedroom model that we put together specifically for Smadar. She's got a beautiful decking area at the front, which is accessible by the French doors. She's got a wet room, so that was an upgrade that we made. It comes with a shower room as standard, so we upgraded that. So a wet room space. So in essence, when she walks in the annex, everything from that point onwards is one level living, including the wet room. So there's no threshold on a shower tray. She's got a full purpose wet room to obviously.
And it's got that great stuff. Highly recommended. I wish I had that. The floor,
floor, yes.
There's a special floor that the NHS use to not slip.
Yes.
Which is great. Oh, by the way, if you're then just telling you from experience, let's say in the main house, the hot water dies, then all of the people have to traipse through down to the annex in a long line to take their showers. For small children, it's great to have the non-slip thing. But no, that was really good, that non-slip stuff.
Yeah, it's called polyfloor, so it is one that the NHS use, but it's a non-slip floor. And like I said, this is all part of the due diligence process, understanding what the customer's needs are, and then meeting them. Yeah, so we can either have a shower room, a bathroom, a wet room, whatever those requirements are. We'll try and facilitate that accordingly. As Smadar clearly said, she wanted the walk-in wardrobe that we gave her. So it's on the plan in the top right corner there. There's a walk-in wardrobe space. And then below that, you've got a water tank area where the services cupboards are. So in there is the water tank. You've also got the consumer unit, the fuse box, etc. But all of the utilities come in at that point, and they're distributed round the walls, etc., to the various areas such as the kitchen, etc. You'll see that the bedroom is a really good size. That's a double bed. Just to give you a sense of scale, that's a 4'6" wide double bed, standard double. Lots of space around it for access. And then she's got the wardrobe space. I don't know exactly how that's formatted now. Is it any different, Smadar, or?
No, there's no wardrobe there. There's a chest, like a big chest, there that I don't know what she keeps in there. So yeah, so it's not really a wardrobe because she's got all her stuff in the walk-in closet.
Yeah.
But there's lots of space there so that she doesn't, fall or anything when she gets out of bed or she's trying to go around it or anything.
Yeah. But we allocated space for wardrobes and clothes storage, didn't we? That's basically what it's coming to. So, and then you've got the living room space. So you've got the main living area with the open plan kitchen at the end there. I think there's some internal shots on the presentation.
Yes.
With the kitchen in. So I don't know if you want to just go to those, and I'll come back to the exterior, Ollie, if that's.
He's
so
working on it.
The next couple, right? So that's looking into the living space. You can see the kitchen, the full integrated kitchen at the back, completely bespoke, completely led by Smadar and her mum with regards to how it needed to be laid out, with an integrated fridge freezer on the right hand side, with the combination microwave. Didn't need an oven and a microwave, a combination microwave, which is what she's got there in the middle of that tall unit. And then from then on in, you've got the hob and you've got a sink, taps. She's also got a dishwasher on the left-hand side as well, a little slimline dishwasher with drawers and lots of cupboard space. Nice niche space, finished off in the colours that she wanted it. I think we were going for a monochrome palette, weren't we? The greys.
Yes,
etc.
I'm so jealous. Look how tidy her house is.
Yes, but and that was Smadar's. That was a request, so that's what we followed. So with the grey floor, etc. But it's a very modern sort of contemporary finish, isn't it, that you went for?
Yeah, it's very light, and it gets a lot of light because she added that big window.
Yes.
And that was really lovely for her to have all that light coming in, and it's very soothing.
And the big French doors on the end.
The big French doors on the end.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's where obviously she's living throughout the day, and when she needs to prepare food, she's got the kitchen space. There's a picture of the wet room, so you can see the wet room floor with the grate there where the drain is. Grab rails positioned where she wanted them. You don't have to have them. We obviously decide between us if you need them, and if there's a need for them, we'll put them on. And they're quite ergonomic looking. They're more like a towel rail than a grab rail. It's not the typical NHS white grab rail. It's a more ergonomic shape to it. There's the bedroom space.
See, there's the chest.
Yes. It's a nice space, actually. She's got a nice seat in there, and
it's all from Amazon.
Conditioning in, didn't we?
Sorry?
The air conditioning on the far wall.
I don't remember. Yeah. And then that door is the walk-in closet.
Walk-in wardrobe. Yeah.
Yeah. And it, and it's got the electric heaters.
Yes.
So warm.
It is warm, isn't it? I mean, it's very well insulated. From people who have joined us, on this webinar, You may or may not be aware that iHus took a decision a number of years ago now to go fully compliant with building regulations. So as far as the build structure, it's fully compliant with current building regs. And that comes to the U values, the heat, the energy, along with the actual build process as well. So with regards to that, it'll be signed off at foundation stage, and it'll all be signed off at the end of the process as well. So you're in good hands, and everything's obviously regulated and certified in line with building compliance. So, okay. So time together, the best, as you can see, best of all, by choosing the multi-generational way of life. And there's mum and Smadar in the garden. It means they get the effortlessly connect and enjoy quality mother and daughter time without compromising on their privacy and independence. So it's independent living for mum. You're obviously spending time together when you want to. You can eat together, but you can pick and choose that time. It's not forced. You're not living next door to each other, separated by a door. Mum's in the garden, or mum and dad, whatever the scenario is. And it gives you the opportunity to spend as much time or as little time with each other. And it's true, you do get the independence and to choose what you want to do. So
it's nice for her. It's nice for her because I think she was cutting visits.
Yeah.
For a week or two. So because A, she didn't want to feel like a burden, and B, Eli was driving her a bit nutty. But obviously she wants to see him, but she doesn't want to be woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But now she'll come for 2-3 months at a time. And she usually has breakfast in her annex, and then and then she comes up whenever. So sometimes we don't see her until 2-3, and she always has dinner with us. So it's kind of a nice way of, and she stays longer because there's a bit of separation, there's a bit of air, we can have our own little family, and then also time with her, which is really nice.
Do you want to just go to the external shots, Ollie? Sorry. The exterior ones. So, yeah, there's 3 there. So.
Oh, God.
Sorry, it's got an echo here. Oh dear. I'll get back there in a minute. Give me a second.
4 points, isn't it? So
too many times, I think.
So yeah, that's the front of Smadar's Annexe. Smadar's mum there in the middle. So she went for quite, like I said, quite stylish, very contemporary look. But all of the time, I was briefed by Smadar and her mum to try and link, obviously, the annex with the main property. So there is that image there. That's the main house in the background, and obviously the annex there in the foreground. So the white cladding, we chose a white weatherboard cladding for the exterior, with the anthracite grey windows and doors. So they're foiled on the outside, white on the inside, and then a decking area that allowed her mum to come access straight off the pathway there at the bottom of the garden, straight on.
You can see the path just kind of links straight onto the path. Patio, what's it called? The thing.
The decking, yeah.
Yeah, it's the decking, so she doesn't have to. And can I also say that when they started building, my neighbour was very concerned because she said, "Oh, I'm really worried because I have a lovely view out of my window, and if the annex is too high, then I'll lose my thing." So I told the guys who were doing the actual building, and they were so lovely. They came and measured her like kitchen window, and then they measured how tall they were going to make the annex, and then they could kind of reassure her that it wouldn't block her view. So they were also lovely. They were just fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, following that initial consultation, we then agreed a date for me to come down, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's when I carry out this garden survey, and we mark out where the annex is going to go. So you drive that, you know, the client drives where the annex would like to go. I have obviously taken into account all of the things I'm aware of with regards to planning, the ancillary nature and subservience, which are the two key elements we need to focus on. So those are the two things that the LPA are really looking for. Ancillary, so as close to the main dwelling as possible, ideally, and subservient to the main dwelling. So those are the two key points. Above and beyond that, we're driven by the guidance of NAPC. So there may be things that they can find out about the land status. It may be on an area of outstanding attributee or in greenbelt. There may be covenants on the property. There may be things that we're aware of at the front end that we can cover during this process of design, so that when it does get to the LPA, the local planning authority, we collectively with NAPC have done everything in our power to make sure we get the success that we do on the planning submission. I mean, last year we ended on 94% success rate. It's, you know, I can't say enough about the work that NAPC do to actually achieve that. By just putting a standard application in and ready to run its course, you're really gambling with the planning element. And I've always used the analogy: would you go into a court of law without a solicitor? Highly unlikely. And I follow the same, like I said, the same path with planning. We allow NAPC, who are the experts, to drive that application for us with the case officers and with the consultants, and that's how we achieve the results that we get. So I'll just walk you through that planning process. So planning application from our perspective lasts 6 weeks. So I don't know if you want to take over at this point, Ollie, and just run through what you do in that period.
Yeah, fine, no worries, mate. So yeah, the application process with the council is 8 weeks. So how it works is, obviously iHus will come out to site, do their site survey, and then they will agree all the designs with you, how it's going to look, where it's going to go, the size, the pitch roof, flat roof, all those kind of design parameters. But before Andrew comes to site, we actually provide iHus with like a preliminary report. So this gives us a desk-based opportunity just to review the site to see if there's any planning constraints, as mentioned, greenbelt, AONB, conservation area, is the property listed, is there flooding issues, are there issues with trees, ecology, that kind of thing. And then we'll put all that into a report, including the local plan policies. So we'll look at the local planning policies for your area, just to see if there's anything that could be a stumbling block for your application, and also what experience we've had in that local authority area before, because we've usually worked within most now. So we will have a good understanding of how your council will view an annex application. So we sort of compile that into a report. And then Andy usually brings that with him when he comes to do his site visit, and he's armed with that information to discuss it with you, because it can influence the design. It can influence how big you could possibly go. It can influence where it's going to go, pitch roof, flat roof, all those kind of things. So while you may have some design aspirations, which is great, and that's a good starting block, sometimes planning, we have to have a bit of a compromise. So we'll have that armed at the start of the process, which is quite beneficial. So once we've agreed all the drawings, and iHus have provided those, they send them to us at NAPC, and then it's literally over to us to obtain planning permission for you. And we do that in 2 ways. So we actually submit a dual application. So we submit 2 types of different applications. We submit a householder planning application. Maybe you're familiar with that. It's what you would use to do any works to your house that need planning permission, and that's called a householder planning application. And you can see the sort of process on that slide. You submit all the drawings to the council along with a planning statement which sort of justifies the proposal against the local and national planning policies, includes precedents and a case law and that kind of thing. So we compile that package, send it to the council. They then start to review it. That takes sort of 1 to 3 weeks just to make sure that all the information is there that they need to be able to make a lawful decision. And it will also enter a neighbour consultation, so a third-party consultation. So what they normally do is they'll draw a circle around your house, say, I don't know, 800 meters, draw a circle around, and whoever is caught in that circle, they'll send a letter to say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones at number 5 have submitted an annex application, and would you like to comment on it? And then they can go online, view the drawings, view the information we've provided, and comment in support or in objection if they want to. And also any third-party consultees, so like the parish council, highways, the fire department, the ecology, the arboriculturalists, whoever it may be, they get the opportunity to discuss and put their comments in too. So that's the neighborhood consultation. That lasts about 3 weeks, so it's 21 days. And then once that's happened, the officer will come out to site and make a site visit. He usually, or she will usually do that once the consultation is finished, so they can have a look. If there are concerns from the neighbors, they can see how justified those concerns are. So say your neighbors objected over overlooking or I don't know, overshadowing or something, they'll come out and try and have a look to determine if that is carrying any weight. So they'll come out to site and do that. Once that's happened, week sort of 5 then to 8, they'll start assessing the application against their local planning policies, any national ones, and any precedents that we've put forward. And you usually get your decision around sort of the 8 to 10 week mark. It should be 8 weeks, but we allow 10 just because a lot of councils are stretched these days, so it can take sometimes a little bit longer. And hopefully we'll get an approval at the end of it. So that's a householder planning application. Now, the other avenue we go down to is we submit a certificate of lawfulness for a mobile home. Now, you may say, oh my goodness, that sounds terrible. I don't like mobile homes. They look ugly. They're on wheels, etc. But that's not the case. All of iHus's designs that you see on their website have been designed to be compliant with the legal definition of what a mobile home is. Now, the way they define that, there's some legislation which defines what a mobile home is, and there's three key tests. So you have construction, size, and mobility. I won't bore you with how we comply with those, but iHus have designed their whole suite of buildings to be compliant and to meet those 3 tests. Now, why is that important? Well, the high courts have said that a mobile home doesn't require planning permission because technically it's mobile and it's just a personal piece of your property. So if we can justify it as a mobile home, we technically don't need planning permission. Now this can be great in situations such as a listed building, or you're in the green belt where getting permission in the normal traditional way can be quite difficult. This pays dividends in those situations. And it sort of runs a very similar process to on that slide. The only key difference is that sort of 99.9% of the time, the neighbors do not get consulted upon. So if you have a tricky neighbor who you're a bit worried about, don't worry about it, because a mobile home application that they have now jurisdiction to make any comments on that type of application, because it's just a lawful application. So what happens, it goes to the council's legal team and they will decide if our proposal meets the legal definition of a mobile home, and that's it. There's no planning policies involved. There's no assessment against national planning policies. It's just whether or not it meets that legal test. So we've done it a long time now, and we're pretty successful with that application. But the reason why we submit both at the same time is because it not only does it give us 2 chances of success, but if we're likely to get the mobile home application approved and us going through, and yeah, it's looking likely, the high courts have said that should act as what they call a fallback position with the determination of the annex application. So what we say to the council is this: well, you've approved the mobile home application. The annex application is exactly the same, it's no different. You might as well approve that too, because if you don't, we're going to go ahead and build the same thing anyway. And the high courts have agreed with that stance. So say, for instance, the council's a bit concerned over the annex application for whatever reason, if we can get the mobile home approved, really the weight of our argument with this fallback position sort of counteracts their concerns, and it allows them to approve the application, because hopefully common sense prevails and they can then just approve both. So yeah, that's why we do it. And we have, I think, like Andy said, 94% success rate last year, which is pretty fantastic. The national average is about 82, so yeah, we're doing pretty well. And don't think that you'll get an inferior product if you go down the caravan or the mobile home route. They're exactly the same. They're built exactly the same way. They're compliant with building regulations. The only slight difference you may have is, depending on the size of it, it may need to be a twin unit or a single unit mobile home. If it's a twin unit, it does have a join, which is a little cladding detail, but iHus have designed it in a way to look really good, so you won't really notice it. And that's the two ways in which we sort of get your planning permission for you, and they both last about 8 to 10 weeks. So yeah, a very similar process for both applications. Another question we often get asked is surrounding council tax. Now, I'm not an expert, but I do know a little bit about it. So annexes do trigger council tax, or an increase in council tax, but there are some things that you can do. Some councils, well, most councils in the country offer a 50% reduction if the occupant is over 65. Otherwise, if they're over 65, it's their primary residence and they rely on you for some form of care, then it's a zero. So it's a complete exemption to the cost. But I would always recommend that you speak to your local council, because the way they determine it and the process they go through can slightly differ from each council. But there's definitely the exemptions, and there's definitely the reductions in council tax if you want to apply for those, if you get any increase in the banding. Obviously, happy to answer any questions at the end, so do feel free to write some down. I'd be happy to discuss those at the end, because it's a bit of a quick fire session, isn't it? But back to you, Andy.
Thanks. Cheers. Yeah, as Oliver said, there is a Q&A session at the end, so if you have got any questions, just quickly write them down, and we'll make sure they're all answered at the end of the session. So planning covered. I'll just talk you through the build process from our perspective. If you just put that slide in for me all. Thanking you very much. Yeah, so you can see, just before I start, you can see the accreditations that we've got at the bottom of the screen there. So we've got ISO, ISO 14001 for environmental management, and also the ISO 9001 for quality management. So as a company, we're striving continuously to basically separate ourselves from the rest of the marketplace. There's a lot of people building supposed garden buildings, annexes out there in the market, but to a standard, we need to separate ourselves from them, and that's what we've done. So the compliance and the regulations that we now conform to, I think we're one of the only ones in the UK that are doing that. So from a build process perspective, you can see the first one, planning, so pre-construction. Once the planning's been approved, the key point then is getting back in touch with you to say, has planning been approved? Yes, brilliant. We've succeeded in doing that, getting the planning through. It's then a matter of communicating and finding out the funding element. So we'd have discussed this primarily anyway, but how is the annex being funded? Now, as you can appreciate, we've got a number of different elements in there. One is, it tends to be if the annex is for mum and dad. So mum and dad selling their home. So it may be that we get the planning approval. So as a company, we get the green light to build the annex. And then that is the green light for you to then put the house on the market, sell the property, which will then fund the build. But you've gone through a process of being the planning being approved before you make any major financial decisions on selling your property. I've got other clients that will have already sold their property and be living with the son or daughter before we commence with the build there. So the funds are available. In that case, it's a matter of just agreeing when we commence and we start within our build schedule. which currently sits at about 4 to 6 weeks. So theoretically, if you were to come out of planning at the end of January, we should be on site and commencing your build by the end of February, just to give you an indication. So from that perspective, it's really working with you, understanding how the project's being funded, and therefore we can put it into the schedule as and when your funds are ready. So once the planning's been approved, we then go to groundwork. So there's a schedule there of about 8 weeks. Some of the larger builds go right out to sort of 10 weeks, but the average is about 8 weeks. So week 1 is groundworks. So I would have already done a pre-assessment on my survey. We will then come out and we'll carry out the groundworks to our agreed specification. So when I've done my survey, as I did with Smadar, I will have agreed a route that we take in to pick up the sewer. So for the sewerage that the annex is going to create, whether that's shower, sink, dishwasher, toilet waste, etc. So all of that will have been planned and discussed. And then the 2 key utilities we're picking up are water and power. So there's no gas. We're not taking any gas or anything other, just water and power. So I'll discuss the best routes for getting water from the main house, whether it's from a utility, a downstairs loo, an outside tap. We'll obviously form the connection to that, and we'll do that for you. Along with the power, we'll connect that via an armoured cable, and that will go into the services trench underneath the ground like it does at Smadar's property, and come up inside the annex, inside the services cupboard. Okay, but this will have all been pre-discussed and agreed between us. If we're following, say, a path, so it's less intrusive with your property and the garden space, we can do all of that and pursue it in line with your needs. So week 1, all completed. All of the services are in, the foundation systems are in, so it's all done. We're then waiting for the superstructure to arrive in week 2. So when I say superstructure, I mean the building itself. So we've got the walls, the floor, and obviously we're building the roof, whether it's flat or pitched. You're going to have the delivery of all of those materials, including roof trusses and tiles if it's pitched or flat. So we'll build all the wall cassettes, and you'll slowly see during that 2nd week the superstructure go up in the garden space. And I find that invaluable. I've lots of feedback from clients to say they actually enjoy seeing the process of the building going together, and it gives them some reassurance, seeing that going on rather than a finished article turning up in the garden. This is actually built in the garden space, and you see it all coming together with the chaps, etc., that are on site. So that's week 2. Week 3, as you can see, we've got first fix and insulation. So all the insulation's going in. We carry out the first fix. Week 4, plasterboard and plastering. So we're going to plaster out the whole annex and finish all of that off. So we're already week 4. So we're a month in, and already we're plastering the walls, and we've carried out first fix. So week 5, decoration and second fix. So we're putting all of the sockets, all the bits and pieces in there now, the kitchen, the bathroom, getting all of those finishes that we've agreed collectively together. Week 6, external work. So we'll be doing the cladding now, completing all of the external finishes. So cladding, soffit, fascia board, window trims, sill trims, everything to complete the external element of the building. And then week 7 to 8, depending on the size of the building, we're going to commission the building. So it's going to get a sign off to say it's all been built and conforms with regulation, and finally handed over. So that date, when it comes, we'll agree collectively. So there'll be a project manager arrives on site, and he'll hand over the building. He'll also give you all of the manuals for all of the white goods. So we'll have agreed collectively what white goods you've got, whether it's a microwave, an oven, the fridge freezer, whether that's integrated, but we'll have all of the manuals and everything ready to give you and go through, and we'll walk you through the annex, just to agree we've carried out the project exactly as we agreed, with all of the finishes, etc., and make sure you're happy. That's ultimately the case. And that's basically it. The final one is that building control final certificate. So you'll get the certificate to say it's all been built in line with regulations. The build certificate's handed to you. Two components really to that. One's reassurance. It's been built to standard. And number two, when it comes to insuring the building, you've actually got a certificate to say it has been built to standard, as opposed to Mick and Dave built it for me down the road. Yeah, these are all, so they're all qualifying components that you can pass on to your insurance company to say it's been built to this standard. It should make the insurance a lot cheaper than it would have been if you didn't have this certification. Okay. Next one, so, is Q&A. So I don't know if any would like to, because you're all muted at the moment. So I don't know if anyone would like to ask any questions. By all means, unmute. If you've got any burning questions that you'd like to ask either myself, Oliver, or Smadar, I'll give you a second to unmute if you do so.
Hi, Andrew. My name's Peter. I think you just cover England, don't you? You don't cover Scotland. Is that correct?
That is correct. Unfortunately, that is correct. So the Scottish border, we don't go into Scotland. We used to, Peter, as a company. Oliver may want to take over at this point, because the regulations, as you'll be definitely aware from a planning perspective, are completely different in Scotland to what they are in the rest of the country. Do you want to add to that, Oliver?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. The Scottish authorities, building control and planning, are far more stringent than they are in England, and that's fine and great, and that's not a problem. But the problem we have is that because we're geographically based in England, and I'm all the way down in the south, they're expecting us to be there to make site visits, and we just physically couldn't do it. So, as a company, an APC and iHus, we've taken the decision not to do it, just because we couldn't give the best service we possibly could if we're 500 miles away.
Unfortunately, because we're literally 15 miles from Carlisle.
Oh, yeah.
And just over the border, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But never mind.
Peter, just on a personal note, am I all right to pick up with you on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This goes globally to everyone online. We as a company go through all of this due diligence, all of this process, the webinars, because we want to manage people's expectations. We don't want to just step into something without understanding what your needs are. But also, can we manage that? Yeah, we're not just going to say yes to everything. We've got to be able to manage it. We've got to come out with the results that we want to. The planning at 94%. We've got to understand it fully. And as you can, backing up what Oliver's just said, generally, if it's up in Glasgow and Edinburgh, unfortunately, we've not been in a position as a company to manage that. And that's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to do half a job. Pointless. Absolutely pointless. Based on what you've just told me, I wouldn't mind just having a one-to-one conversation if I can. After, and I'll see if there's some way in which we can look into that project for you.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all right? Right, is there any other questions? It's
Phil here.
Sorry.
Just a very quick one to start with. I've looked in the brochure. I can't find the internal height of the
internal height for the ceiling.
Yes.
So yeah. I can give you that now if you wish. So the internal height on our annexes is 8 feet, so 2.4 meters. Okay.
That's good.
So that's on a flat roof. So on a flat roofed annex, it's 2.4 meters. So Oliver will back me up on this. The LPA have got a very stringent internal ceiling height measurement we've got to conform to, and it's 3.05 meters, equates to roughly 10 feet. Okay, so you will see on our buildings, when it's a pitched roof, we've got the opportunity to vault the ceiling inside to give it that wow factor. And we do that, but we're able to follow. I don't know if you've heard of a Dutch barn style, so it vaults on the side and it's flat at the top. That is in essence what we do. So the internal height on a pitch roof on a vaulted situation, we can do to 3.05 meters maximum, and it's compliant. That's the key. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, great. The second one, if you want to screw things on the wall,
Yes.
I understand you need to reinforce the wall.
Yes.
Can you do this retrospectively?
I would normally go through a very stringent process with you and try and find out where you do maybe want to put heavy objects such as mirrors, wardrobes, bits and pieces like that. We'll try and dress it together if we could. You know, I've got a client at the moment that's got a great big 4x6 foot mahogany mirror. There's no way on earth that's going to weigh the same as a bag of sugar. So I know straight off the bat, I'm going to have to reinforce that wall. And we'll reinforce that and I'll work with you on those elements. But yeah, we tend to answer that. It's a stud wall at the end of the day. So it's very much like a new build home. It's a stud wall as standard. If you need any specific areas reinforcing, I'd look to do that at the early stage.
But if we make a mistake and forget, and later we decide, is that tough?
No.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I don't want to. I've got another one, but if there's anybody else who wants to ask,
I know Biggs has got a question, so I will come to you in a second. Smadar, do you just want to add anything about that?
I mean, we've put up shelves, and if it's not anything crazy, we just put it up ourselves. Not a mahogany, whatever thing. But you know, shelves. My mum's got a telly up, so stuff like that. You can hang up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I'll come to you in a moment, AJT10, I think it is. Dids has got a question, I think.
Yes, hello. Thanks, Andrew.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I was going to. So my main question at the moment is a tiny one because I've consumed pretty much all of your videos and webinars and everything. Is plastering part of the standard cost?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's my husband and I. Our main challenge at the moment is that we need to buy our home with a garden of the right sort of size and in the right location.
Okay.
So that's our main challenge, because obviously we need to find something suitable that we know, or we're pretty sure we're going to be able to build an annex in.
Have you sold property as yet, Dids, or is it on the market?
No. So we rent at the moment. My mum's in a dilapidating Victorian town cottage that's really not suitable anymore.
Yeah.
So we want to be near. She's got mobility issues, health issues, so we want to be nearer, but not with, we don't want to live, in the same house, and she wants that sort of independence as well. So she's going to need to sell her house in order to fund her annex, unfortunately, because we can't.
Which tends to be the case, being honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about where she'll live, while that's going on, but yeah, I'm in my second year of self-employment, so come April I will be able to get better mortgage deals. So we're in the process of looking now, but we're trying not to waste estate agents' time by going to look at places. But it's imminent. We're all very keen to get started.
Just to answer your question very briefly, Oliver at NAPC and as ourselves, we've basically agreed a package that we can offer you. So where people are looking for a property, we can actually do a feasibility study. Say you had two properties that you particularly like the look of, and you felt that the garden delivered the space that you needed for both the family and mum in this particular case. We can actually carry out a preliminary report on that and do a feasibility study, just to give you a bit of reassurance before you put pen to paper, obviously purchasing the property, it's got a good rate of success or not. And it may then be able to direct you down the right path, as opposed to going for a property that may fit your brief, but may not be right for the annex.
That sounds great, because it'll be a showstopper if, you know, it isn't a requirement. So, and we've got other requirements. We need a garage. We don't actually need a large, it's just two of us. We don't need a large house, but that makes it awkward because you tend to find that the bigger plots are with larger houses, but.
No, but honestly, when you're, I don't know if you're looking on Rightmove and obviously any of these popular sites, but once you've obviously spoke to your agent, if there's one that you get to the point of, right, it's going to be between these two properties, please furnish us with the details. I'll get some preliminary reports done via an APC. There may be a small cost for that, okay, but it's nothing in the scheme of things. But we'll get 2 reports done for you, and then hopefully it'll give you the direction to go in based on the results of it.
That is great, thank you. And you, I'm afraid we're quite a long way from you. Probably we're in Cornwall.
That's not. I'm travelling to Exeter on Sunday for a Monday meeting.
We're in Sevenoaks. So, yeah.
We do cover all of the UK. I've got Dawlish. We're all over the country.
Great. Thank you.
I'm really sorry. Does anyone have questions for me? Because I'm going to have to go soon for the school run.
Oh, sorry, Smadar. Smadar, just from your perspective then, very briefly, what are the key points? What are the key benefits from the annex now? Now it's been built, now we've gone through the whole process that we did. What has it really brought to you now as a family? What have been the benefits?
So, I would say, number one, what's nice about it is it gives everyone space. We couldn't have afforded a whole other house or flat for my mum so close to us, because Sevenoaks is really expensive, but the expense was not life-shattering. I would say the nice thing is also when she's not there, we can have guests or other family. We've got family in the States, and so we have a place to have people. And for me, also is nice because where everything is getting more and more and more and more expensive. My mum lives here now, but if my son ever, he's 6, but if he ever needs to come back and live with us as an adult, there's also that. So thinking about his future is also really lovely, and something that we kind of realized after the fact. But yeah, just having my mum here, I know that she's safe, I know that she's okay, but also she's not up in my business all the time, so that's really nice. And she can help and be a more involved grandmother, but also there's some space, so I would say that's the biggest thing.
Can I ask you a quick question, Smadar, before you go? Is there anything that you look back on and think, in hindsight, I would have liked to have done that differently? I mean, I can see that iHus planned things meticulously, but was there anything in your case that you would have done differently?
Just because when my mum is there, it's perfect for her. So it was built exactly for her. When there are guests, I would say that going through the bedroom to the bathroom is different when it's just guests or or what have you. So that's the only thing I would say is keep in mind where the bathroom is and where people have to go through. So if you're super social, right, and you have people and you're going to live in the annex and you have people traipsing through your bedroom, right, maybe have the bathroom between the bedroom and the other bedroom. Good point. But aside from that, we got planning permission within 6 weeks. We spoke to iHus in October, and by March she'd moved in. So it was really fast. It was lovely, and it was a really great. We've had building projects before, and it always goes to, but this was just really on point from beginning to end. It was lovely. So yeah. And if anybody has questions or wants to, if you're around Sevenoaks and you want to come and see, you're more than welcome to write to me or come over and have a chat.
Yeah, if I don't know, Ollie, could you just go back 3 screens, just in on 17, I think it is. There it is. So what we've got, as Smadar just touched on there, we've got something called iHus. iHus is basically the bullet points there. Visit annexes across the UK. Now, Smadar obviously is in the iHus scheme. We've built an annex for Smadar and a mum, and she allows us to use that annex to show off what we do as a company. So we've got over 100 of these now across the whole of the UK. And as it says there, it gives you an opportunity to ask the owners your questions about the experience, etc. We don't attend with you unless you ask us to. So it gives you it gives you an excellent opportunity to have open conversations with Smadar and other owners to gauge, their experience and the process that they've gone through. What's that really been like? So we're the only annex company that do this, offering such a service across the UK. So if you go on the website, you see the QR code. If anyone needs to actually scan that, you can scan that, or go on our website. You can actually enter your postcode, and it will give you various options local to yourself of annexes that you can go and visit. And you can go and visit them. There are a number of annexes where people can speak to the owners on the phone. I think, Smadar, you're also on that list, aren't you?
Cool, yeah.
If you're unable to visit for whatever reason, whether it's health, whether it's access or whatever, you could actually just call Smadar and obviously ask her any questions just over the phone. So
yeah, and Andy, if you want to put my number on there, I'm really happy for people to.
Perfect. If you just want to scroll down to that last screen, Oliver, the last 2, I think it is. Thank you very much, sir. That's a lovely photograph for me, I must admit. That's far better than what it is now. But there's an opportunity there. There's a QR code, so you can get in touch with me directly on a one-to-one to discuss your project. It's completely non-committal, and I can't say that enough. It's completely non-committal. It's discuss the project, discuss what your needs are. Hopefully, I can give you some answers and give you some suggestions on where you should be looking and what we should be looking for. But yeah, there's an opportunity there to obviously take my details down, which you can find on the website also. But by all means, scan the QR code and speak to me directly, and I'll try and fulfill that for you. And then the last screen, very quickly. I know you're all running over time. You probably see that we do have a YouTube channel. We, along with this webinar, we're trying to really get out into the marketplace and inform people of the different areas of Annexe. So such as navigating the estate planning, looking at all the different legal jargon and the different scenarios that people come up against. It's a difficult time for people at the minute with change of government last year, financial status, things like that. All of these questions can be answered. And we've got these fantastic YouTube videos where we've done previous webinars that hopefully will give you some insight into that. So by all means, look on the YouTube channels. There's lots of different webinars that we've recorded for you. And apart from that, like I said, by all means, get in touch with me or any of my team members, and we'll try and answer what we can for you. All right. Any other questions while we're all still here?
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, I do. It's AJT10.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, my name's Andy Thompson. I've got quite a few questions, but there's 3 ones just very quickly that just if we can cover off.
Okay.
In terms of, well, first of all, foundations and
Yes.
base, is that like a sort of like a sort of pile driven frame, or do you require a solid concrete base? And if so, is that something that you do or can do, or we could do, or I could do?
It is, yeah. So very briefly, from a planning perspective, if we're planning approved, so it gets approved under planning, we can use all of the different types of foundations. So you've got a helical screw pile, which I think you were about to touch on. So a helical screw pile, they range from 1.5 meters long to 5 meters,
Right.
depending on the soil type, which we'll carry out various tests on to prove that they will work. So you've got a helical screw pile. We've also got a typical concrete pad, 750 square, so 2.5 feet square, 600 deep. So we can also use those to site the building on. And then finally, we've got another one that we can use for the Caravan Act, called a swift plinth, which is basically like a concrete block that we site the building on. So under planning, we can use all of them. Under the Caravan Act, because of its temporary state, we can only use the screw pile and the swift plinth. We can't use the concrete.
Okay, cool. That's good. In terms of distance
Yes.
from the main residence, are there any limitations as how far it can be away or how close it can be towards the property, the main residence?
Okay, Ollie, do you want to?
Sorry, are any of the questions for me?
No,
Thank you, Smadar. I'm good, but
Okay.
been good to
All
meet
right.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much for your time again.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, Smadar.
My best to the family. All right.
Bye.
All the best. Thank you again.
Yes, no worries. So in terms of distance away, technically no. So there's no prescribed distance, put it that way, of how close you can be or how far away. You have to remember though that for both the annex and the mobile home, they have to be ancillary, so that they have to be functionally, physically not attached. They have to be functionally attached to the main house. The further away from the house you put it, the weaker the ancillary argument becomes. Now, 50, 60, 70 meters away, absolutely no problem. 500 meters away, 800 meters away, if you've got a big plot, then absolutely not going to happen.
Because I'm thinking sort of 60, 70, 80 meters.
Yeah, I think we've done it 100 meters before, when that's not a problem. But like I say, that this ancillary argument is like an accumulation of different things put in the pot, and the distance away from the house is one of them. If it's 100 meters away, that doesn't mean it's going to be a no, as long as we can demonstrate there's other arguments to reinforce this ancillary case we're putting forward. So, it's drawing its services from the main house, there's sharing the garden, there's no independent access, etc. So, 100 meters, and within that, no problem.
Okay, and in terms of proximity close to it, I mean, by the looks of it, actually, it's not that's not really as
no.
looking at Sam.
Just to add to that, Andy, your biggest, the biggest things to overcome, obviously, the further away the annex, will probably need assistance either via the means of pumps or sewage treatment plants for things like waste. Yeah. So when it comes to getting the waste to your existing drain, possibly, or septic tank or whatever you may have, it's I may need assistance via pumps. It's adding extra cost. You've got extra run costs, obviously, for the service trench. So it's accommodating all of that. But, at the end of the day, that's...
it is about finding the right location. And I think at the minute I've identified, it actually seems to be about maybe 16, might even not be 60 meters. I'll have to pace it out later on. Another question, I know everyone's sort of running out of time, but the costs on the website, I assume there's costs on the website from the different models.
Yes.
I suspect that it'll probably say pricing starting from.
Correct.
And then we go on.
Yes.
What should I be looking to add on to those prices potentially, or is that obviously coming down later on? I'm just trying to get a feel for.
If you find the one model on the website, it starts initially by looking at the model range called a 3632. So recently we've actually developed another model. So we had the classic range, which exists on the website. We've now launched the 3632. So the 3632 is a standard for the caravan, for the Caravan Act. Okay. So we can build exactly the same annex as what you've seen in the classic range, but to the 3632 standard. Okay, which is the Caravan Act, basically. In order to do that, that's the starting point for all of the different models. So if you said, for instance, look at the weekly, the starting price would be the 3632 specification, and then it would go from there. Being completely transparent with you, by all means, contact me, and I'll be, completely thorough in give you some sort of direction on the model and the spec and the cost in that initial call. I'll be able to give you some guidance on that.
Okay, brilliant. And am I all right for another question?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, probably for Ollie this one. Thinking longer term and ahead, say another 10 years or so. So this will be a granny annex for in-laws. 10 years down the line, they may not be around with us anymore, potentially. What I don't want is this building to be redundant. No. Is there any way that this, from a planning perspective, could be let out or used as an Airbnb? Sort of, I mean, I know things might change in 10 years or whatever around legislation on that sort of stuff, but as it stands, do we need to upfront be thinking of considerations around that? Because what I don't want is £150,000 to be stuck in the garden after 5 years and not be able to do anything with it.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it's fine. It's quite a common question, if I'm honest. So, Airbnb uses are still considered to be an ancillary use. So if you had a room that you Airbnb'd or a self-contained basement, which many people do in the Airbnb, they don't get a change of use to a holiday let because the overarching use of the planning unit is still residential. So as long as your Airbnb, that your annex you're renting out for Airbnb, doesn't go beyond what can be reasonably expected from a residential property. So if you had stag do's rocking up and there was 100 people there and there's the parties, comings and goings, and it was just chaos, then that's what we wouldn't expect from a residential property. So at that point, it may trigger a change of use. But if you had, you're renting it out for 100 days a year, for instance, and in between those days, your family used it who were visiting and your mates came over and they used it, that'd be absolutely fine. And as long as you weren't causing a nuisance and the character of the planning unit didn't change, then that's absolutely fine.
Right. Okay. No, that's good to know. I mean, that because it's a significant investment, and I want to be able to sort of, further down the line.
Of course. Yeah. Most people do that. It's like Airbnb in a room in your house. It's the same. It's just an extension of your house, albeit detached at the bottom of the garden. It's the same principle.
It's a good question, Andy, because at the end of the day, what you're building the annex for now, which its primary use is what it is, and like you said, in 10, 20 years' time, working with the R&D that we do, the research and development we carry out, the building's lifespan is somewhere in the region of about 100 years.
Okay.
Using the materials, so you've got to think future. What it's going to be used for, etc. Whether it's your own children, whether it's family, dependents, etc. So.
No, that's good to know. That gives a bit more confidence to maybe sort of look more at it, because that was one of the questions that we've had internally as a family as to I think that's it from me question wise.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else got a question? Peter, I'm going to pick up on yourself with regards to Scotland. I will give you a call after this, and we'll agree a time to have a chat if that's okay.
Can I just one last question?
That's fine.
Conservation.
Thanks, Andrew.
Go on. Sorry, Peter. Carry on.
Yeah, I look forward to your call, Andrew. That'd be great.
Thank you, Peter.
No worries.
Sorry, Andy.
Conservation area, does that flag up many sort of issues for you?
It's mainly down to design. So conservation area is there to protect the significance of the heritage asset, I suppose, and its aesthetics as an area. Garden rooms and annexes are usually in the rear garden, so they're sort of somewhat screened from the public vantage points, so which is what the conservation area seeks to protect. But things like materials can be a bit more trickier. So they may look to have more heritage design, so heritage guttering, perhaps like sort of more conservation style design, windows and doors, that kind of thing. Perhaps natural cladding rather than composite. Yeah, we've done many in a conservation area before. It's just got to be mindful of that, and that all gets flagged up at the feasibility stage. And we'll make some suggestions of, I think you should probably look at a pitch roof because that's the vernacular of the area, or some timber cladding rather than a composite, that kind of stuff.
I mean, it wouldn't be visible anyway from any sort of public area.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, just to reassure you, Andy, we do. It probably accounts for 1 in 10, doesn't it, in conservation areas? So you will see on our website and in the brochure, there's a number of oak structures. They do tend to be the ones that are in these conservation areas or in greenbelt status areas, whereby we have to consider all of the different materials. So green oak is a common material that we use.
Green oak, did you say?
Yeah, green oak. But, the cedar, there's all different. We can basically clad the building in any material, as you can appreciate. Everyone's got a different preference. Our standard spec is the weatherboard, because ultimately, working with the demographic that we would normally be working with, parents, we're looking for a maintenance-free structure. So when it comes to cladding, windows, decking, or roof, we want something that's going to be completely maintenance-free for at least the first 10, 20 years before you need to actually consider doing any painting or any maintenance on it.
Okay, great. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone? Ollie's kindly put up my lovely photograph again. But if you scan that QR code or make a note of my number or email address, there will be a follow-up email from one of my colleagues, Dana, afterwards with my details on, if you want to reply to that, if you've got any questions you'd rather write down on an email. And hopefully I can answer them. And like I said, if you wish to book a consultation, if you wish to book a visit to an open house, just to give you that reassurance that you're going down the right path, by all means, raise that and we'll move forward from there.